increased resource of personal information about Al-Islam as it relates in the correctional setting. Imam Mohammed has been invited as the sole U.S. delegate to several international Islamic conferences throughout the world. Many of us here who have been working in corrections for several years can remember where we have come from, and hopefully we can appreciate the great progress we have made in the spirit of inclusion towards racial diversity as well as religious diversity. We need leaders who can have the vision to see our agency move towards the progressive changes in attitude to maintain and build upon the high standards of care and the promoting of broad-based teamwork as we strive for excellence. While speaking with one of our deputies, Terrell Slayton, he stated that the next great frontier or challenge for us after addressing racial diversity is to sincerely address religious diversity. I think this effort here today speaks for itself. We would like to welcome to Georgia, to the Georgia Department of Corrections, and to the Georgia Public Safety Training Center, the Muslim American spokesman for human salvation, Imam W. Dean Mohammed.
We greet, as Muslims, we say, peace be on you, assalamu alaikum. The Deputy Commissioner, Business and Support Services, Joe Garner, Deputy Director of Programs and Development, Annette Henderson, Director of Chaplaincy Services, Ken Wright. Also, I'd like to acknowledge the imams and chaplains from our community, along with correctional administrators, all of you, and correctional workers. This is a pleasure and an honor to be here to share with you our perception of our religion as it relates to obedience in our religion, or as it relates to law in our religion. In our holy book, God says, to each was given a law and a way. We understand by that that Islam recognizes the law that was given to other religious communities, mainly to the Christian community of the world and the Jewish community of the world, and another small community that was existing at that time, and I believe that some of those people still exist in the Middle East, called Sabians. But we would understand this to also include religions that are not mentioned by name in the Quran, that are religions that we recognize as true religions, having their origin in revelation from God. In saying that we recognize the laws of other religions, that other religious communities have their laws, we are saying that we believe that each community should be governed by their law, We believe that Muslim communities should be governed by our law. Christian communities should be governed by the Christian law. Jewish community be governed by Jewish law, etc. Islamic law is called Sharia. Sharia is a term for Islamic law. It's also called jurisprudence and translated jurisprudence by Islamic writers or authors of Islamic law textbooks from the old country, from Europe, and from Asia and other places. I think most Muslims would tend to call the law Sharia. I have been fortunate, and you've just heard a brief history of myself. I've been fortunate to sit with some of the most learned people, I think, in Islam, and also to have a special kind of experience as the son of the late leader Elijah Muhammad. I have come to see Islam, I think, and through my own eyes, that are eyes that are kind of unique, I think, kind of unique eyes. Being that I am the son of Elijah Muhammad, I did go through that experience we know as the Lost Foundation of Islam in America, better known as black Muslims, and I have made the change or transition from that to what is Islam in the international world, and have been influenced by, well, beginning with my teacher that was hired by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad to teach us in our private school in Chicago. His name's Jamil Diab, Professor Jamil Diab. He was from Jordan, I believe. Jordan was his native country. And I was fortunate because Professor Jamil Diab was a Muslim, was not a narrow focus Muslim. He was a Muslim with very broad focus. He was what we would call a complete Muslim, he was spiritual, but also rational. He was very devoted to the religion, but also appreciative of what he saw in Western society of good. So I think it was very fortunate that I had Professor Jamil Diab, along with my youngest brother, who went on to Egypt, attended school in Azhar, the University of Azhar, most prestigious university we know of. Today and yesterday too is the Azhar, Al-Azhar. You might know it as Al-Azhar, the Azhar University in Cairo, Egypt. He attended there and learned to speak Arabic so fluently until sometimes I don't know whether he's one of us or a foreigner when I'm listening to him speak. That's how fluent he is, and I've heard other Arabs say that he speaks Arabic better than we speak it, you know. But we were very fortunate to have Professor Jamil Diab as our professor. Under Professor Jamil Diab, I acquired knowledge of how to read Quran, how to begin to read Quran, our holy book, in Arabic, along with my youngest brother Akbar and a co-worker now with us who was a student there. At that time, his name is Donnell Kareem. He's Imam Donnell Kareem of Chicago, Harvey, Illinois. Right now, he's in Harvey, Illinois. And many others who were students at that time. We learned Arabic and managed to read the Quran in the Arabic text, or the original text. And all of that has helped me to really grow in the knowledge of Islam in this way that I think is excellent. I think Muslims who study Quran and grow in Islam and come out with a strong spiritual commitment, but also an appreciation for what is rational, what is universal and rational, what is universal and rational. Those are the fortunate students of Islam. It's a pity that some of us remain so narrow in our focus and become fanatical and miss the beauty of this religion we call Islam, properly al-Islam in the text of the Quran. It should be also admitted that Muslims of the world are not under what we call the Sharia. Muslims of the world are not under the law we call the Sharia, the Islamic law. Few countries are attempting to have their nations ruled by the Islamic law, the Sharia. And I'm sure you're familiar with all of them, or with most of them. Perhaps the one that is most pressing in my mind right now is Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is known to practice Islamic law, or to have Islamic law as a rule. Also, Sudan now has attempted recently 2 or 3 times to establish the Sharia, the Islamic law. And now it is trying to establish the Sharia, the Islamic law. I think we may say that Sudan is under Islamic law. Pakistan is a nation that we have admired even when I didn't understand this religion. My father and I, we admired the nation called Pakistan, and I believe Pakistan too is under Islamic law. Egypt, in an appreciable measure, also regards the Sharia, the Islamic law. And there are other nations too. However, most of these nations are not under that rule we call the Islamic law. Most of the populations of Muslims that we find throughout the international world, they are not under the Sharia, the law of Islam. But I believe most of the Muslims, wherever you find us, we want to be accepted as followers of the Quran, the holy book of Muslims, and as followers of the Prophet Muhammad, the prophet of that holy book, of our holy book. Rather than say, claim or think that Sharia or an Islamic law is really the rule for Muslims in our life, I would like to say that God's commandments as found in the Quran and the leadership of the prophet of that Quran, of that holy book, that's what rules in our life, most of us. That's what's ruling in our life. And we cannot have a Sharia or an Islamic law in America, in my judgment, unless we have learned, qualified persons from America that knows America, lives in America and knows America, to study Quran and study the life of Muhammad, the Prophet, the prayers and peace be on him, and then write a Sharia, establish a Sharia, write a Sharia for the Western, no, not the whole Western Hemisphere even, just for America, just for the United States. We need a Sharia for the Muslims of the United States. This is not the first time I have asked that we consider that. I've addressed Muslim gatherings with scholars in the audience, imams, reputable imams in the audience, educators, and I have made that appeal. And no Muslim would, in his good senses, would say that what I'm advising here is out of line or not proper. It is proper that we do that. In Africa, there is a Maliki school of thought, and we find that the Sharia in Africa, in most of Africa, for most African Muslims, will not agree in every detail, not in every important detail, with the Sharia that's practiced in Asia or in the Middle East, in Saudi Arabia or some other place. It differs. The Sharia differs. It doesn't mean that the Sharia is not in accord with the Quran, our holy book, and with the leadership of our Prophet Muhammad, peace be on him. It only means that we have a respect for what is rational, for what is rational. And we don't want to impose upon the people of America, the Muslims of America, a law that was designed by or determined by the circumstances in another part of the world. For example, in Egypt, or in Sudan, or any other part of the world, in Asia, in Russia now, in many parts of the world, we have the Islamic law applied to the circumstances that exist in those places, and that is the way to apply Islamic law. When we apply it that way, we have an Islamic law for America, we have an Islamic law for Egypt, we have an Islamic law for every environment that differs drastically from the other, or differs considerably from the other. This is very important to be understood by us imams, by imams and leaders of Islam in America, by chaplains in America, in hopes that we can better inform our general Muslim audience, our general Muslim gatherings or followings of what is proper in al-Islam. We don't have that law yet. But I'll continue without any further talk in that talk in that vein. A knowledge of Prophet Muhammad, his life as a leader, his role of leader, is the second most important element in an understanding of Islamic law. The first being the Word of God, the Quran, and the second being the Prophet's leadership, how he led us. Most basic and important are the articles of faith and practice. In the first instance, the articles of faith are belief in Allah, that is God, belief in the angels, belief in the revealed books, belief in the messengers or prophets, belief in the ordinance of God, and for want of a satisfying English term for this, I'm using ordinance. Belief in the ordinance of God regulating, which regulates, the ordinance regulating reward and punishment, or benefit and harm. The words are khair, which can be translated benefit, reward, good reward, and shar, which means harm, evil, hurt, has many meanings. A law or ordinance, regulating reward and punishment, and belief in resurrection after death. Resurrection after death. These are the essential beliefs for all Muslims, no matter where we are in the world. We can't change those. This is decided by the Word of God, the Quran. These are in the Quran, and they have been verified as being the basic beliefs for Muslims in the practice of the Prophet himself. He did this also, he established this also for us himself. You find that these beliefs are hardly any different from the beliefs of Christians and other religious communities. We don't agree all the time on how we perceive or to perceive these beliefs, but we do have these beliefs in common with each other. The principles of our religion that distinguish us from other communities are in the practices. So in the second instance, we have the articles of practice, and they are to testify to the oneness of Allah, to testify to the oneness of God. God is one, and Muhammad is God's messenger, or Allah's messenger. This is the one, number one. That's number one for us in our practice. Number 2 of these 5 is to pray. And as they were given by the prophet, it just says to pray, to pray. But we know that to pray has been established by the prophet himself as 5 daily prayers, to pray 5 daily prayers. The first prayer is before the sunrise, when the first sight of light appears on the eastern horizon. We call it the sign of the sign of indication of dawn. Is when the light is parallel with the darkness on the horizon. That time also marks the beginning of our fast too. After that dawn, sign of dawn has appeared, we can make our Fajr prayer. We begin preparing to make our Fajr prayer, our early morning prayer, and then we complete it before while we can yet see a shadow of ourselves. When it's light, so light we can't see a shadow, then it's too late to pray that prayer. And the next prayer that we pray is the noon prayer. Really, it's not at noontime. It has to be said when the shadow indicates that noon has passed, but immediately when the shadow indicates that noon has passed. So it's so close to noon, we call it noon prayer, the midday prayer, noon prayer. The next prayer is said at what we call Asr time. And it's the time when the sun has gone from this perpendicular, almost perpendicular in the sky, to about 1/3 of the way between sunset, between the setting, the horizon, the western horizon, and the point of the zenith. Then we say what we call Asr prayer. And the fourth of the prayers, fourth prayer, we say when the sun has set, after the sun has set, but still the reddish glow of the sun is on the western horizon. That is the time for the fourth prayer. And the fifth prayer said when there's no sign of the sun at all in the sky, and the sky appears to be dark night. If it's a clear day, clear night, the stars should be appearing there, and that's what we call Isha prayers. Now these prayers are regulated pretty accurately, and we will have a timetable for them. So I'm sure the chaplain here, he would have that timetable and would make it available to Muslims in the facilities who are permitted to observe the prayers at specific times, or who may have an opportunity to preserve some of the prayers at the specific times. Pardon me, I didn't complete one. The fifth of those articles of practice is to make pilgrimage, or to perform the pilgrimage to the house. I'm using the language of the Quran, to the house. Too many Muslims, especially new converts, and even us when we were new converts, I was born under the influence of my father's idea of Islam, that he got from his the teacher who was a foreigner called Farad. I was influenced by that idea. Some may say you were born a Muslim then. No, I still think I was a convert. I'm a convert to Islam. I consider myself a convert to Islam. I've always known about Islam. I've always had an interest in Islam since birth. But that concept of Islam was incorrect, so I consider myself too a convert to Islam. And for converts, many of us, in fact I think most of us, we put more importance on Mecca when we talk about making Hajj than we do on the house. We say, well, we're going to Mecca, we're going to the holy city Mecca. That city was one of the worst cities when it comes to sin and ignorance on the map when our religion came there. There's nothing holy about the city. The city is not holy even now, but the sacred precincts are regarded as sacred precincts, inviolable precincts, and the most important of those precincts are there in that vicinity we call the inviolable vicinity, and we are to turn our attention toward the house. The house is the house built by Prophet Abraham Ibrahim, we call him in Islam, and his son, another prophet, you call Ishmael, we call him Ismail. The two prophets, Abraham and his son, built that house. And Abraham was looking for a place to build a house. And a stone fell from the sky, a comet, a small object. And Abraham took that to be God's sign to him, that that's where he should build that house. So he built, this is the story about Abraham and the house. So he built the house there, and the house fell under idolatry. And the whole peninsula of Arabia, not called Arabia at that time, was under idolatry when our prophet was given the mission to preach Islam on this earth. So we turned in that direction toward that house. That's not the first direction for Muslims in the history of Muslims. The prophet was turning toward Jerusalem. And because he knew of the religion in Jerusalem, he knew of the importance of the religion for the Jews, and Jerusalem as a sacred city for them, and also he knew of its importance for Christians too. So he was turning in that direction. Prophet did everything on his own, until God gave him revelation to correct what he was doing. This is how the prophet came into his work, He was moved by his own human conscience, his spirit and conscience pleading for God, to obedience to God. He was moved by that, and he would follow that until God gave him something in addition to correct that, or until God gave him something to approve that and establish that for him. This was our prophet. So he was dissatisfied returning to Jerusalem, and God knew this burden on his heart, and God says in the Quran that he was seen under that burden, and God said, now turn your face toward a qibla, a direction that will please you. Then now turn your face toward the sacred house, the sacred precincts, the inviolable mosque. That house is a mosque, is a sign of a mosque, it's a symbol, a sign of a mosque. And the whole area there, immediate area there, is a mosque. Muslims come in millions now there, and we pray all there together. That little small house is still the center for us, the center of our focus, and even for pilgrimage, the center of the unity of all mankind, all the races. This fifth principle is so important for us, and I don't want to take up, I promised our brother Muslim Imam and chaplain here, Brother Sabri, that I would make this very short. I said I'm going to limit it to about 20 minutes, so if I'm not doing it, I apologize for it. I wanted it to be very short. So I'll quickly go through the rest of this because we want to spend more time for questions and just exchange with you. I really desire that. Without giving a lot of explanation, I'm just going to just share with you important matters. When it comes to making our prayers, I said that these prayers are not to be shortened. That is, the established length for the prayer, the established time for the prayer. These things are not to change, except in very special situations. For example, when we are traveling, and these persons who have their own sharia, their own law, or these communities that have their own law, they will say in these different regions just how many miles or how much time we have to have on the road before we can consider it that I'm a traveler and I have this allowance or this exemption. But if we are traveling for a considerable distance, then we can shorten the prayer. A prayer says 4 sections. We can shorten it to 2 sections. We can't shorten a prayer like Maghrib is a 3-section prayer. We can't shorten Maghrib. We have to say the 3 sections. But if the prayer is 4 sections, like the night prayer, and like the 2 prayers at midday, the noon and afternoon prayer, there are 3 prayers of 4 sections. So we can shorten them down to 2 sections if we're traveling. If we're sick and feel that we are making ourselves more sick, or it's not advisable for us to stand and do the prayer, we can sit and do the prayer. If the condition is of such serious nature that we can't even sit, we can lie on our side. We can lie on our side, the right side, and put the body, the face toward the Kaaba, toward the Qibla, the house, and we can pray even lying on our side. Also, we have the washing for prayer. We call wudu, ablution, washing for prayer. If we can't find suitable water, and I don't think we should just say water, suitable water, because we can't make our cleansing for prayer, in unsuitable water. The water has to be without any odor, bad smell. The water has to be appearing clear to our eyes. And the water, if we taste it, it has to taste clean and pure in order for it to be fit for us to make ablution in, washing for prayer in. If we can't find suitable water, then for another situation would be if we are in the North Pole somewhere and there's no water at all and we have no way to melt the ice, there's nothing but ice. So how are we going to make ablution with water? We have an allowance. If we can't find water, then God says, highly glorified is He, He says, then clean earth, clean earth, clean earth. With dry, it has to be dry. It has to be like sand, clean sand. You can clean your hands with sand. Many times I've cleaned oil off my hands working on my bicycle as a teenager. I used to work on my bicycle. And I used to take the dust, the dry dust of the earth, and I would clean oil from my hands, make my hands pretty clean. So clean that I would eat my candy with my hand after that, you see. So those are allowances for us. And now let me go to another situation, war, in times of war. In times of war, Allah says this in the Quran, that if you are engaged in war and the battle is of such intensity that it is risky for you all to pray at one time. Now, you know, a fanatic will say, no matter what the situation is, time to pray. A fanatic in a certain degree of fanaticism. He would say, no matter what the situation is, it's time to pray. We have to stop fighting and pray. We might all be wiped out, you know, because maybe God is not that kind of fanatic. So we have allowances. During wartime, God says, let a party watch. Let a party watch. A number of troops, let them be on guard. And let the men take turns praying. One group will pray, then they will go back after they pray. Another group pray until they all have prayed, until they all have done their prayers. So that's an exception made for men who pray during times of war, or Muslims praying during times of war on the battlefront. I want to go from that situation now to hunger. Hunger that is so severe, our survival is threatened. Our survival is threatened. And the situation is such that we have no halal food. Halal like kosher for the Jews, halal for Muslims. We have no halal foods. It even can be pork. And God says we can eat it. Now, most Muslims don't know that. And I'm saying God says we can eat it. And they can read it in the Quran for themselves, but still they don't like it when I say it. Most. So we have these sensitivities. I think we'll find Muslims in America who once believed in the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, or once was part of the Lost Foundation of Islam. I think you'll find those Muslims to be the most sensitive when it comes to pork. And because the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and his movement has affected blacks throughout America and even beyond the borders of America now, I think you will find many blacks who won't identify their there are seriousness when it comes to pork with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Maybe don't even know about him and what he's done. But they have too been influenced by the Nation of Islam. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad made pork really, I'm telling you, he drew cartoons. He had his artists draw cartoons and everything to make it so horrible and make the pig look so horrible and everything, you know. And he talked about it and used the U.S. Department wanted to kind of reduce the pork consumption in the United States. And the United States Department of Agriculture, I believe it was, I'm almost certain it was, they put out a thing on pork. And boy, did we capitalize. Boy, did we exploit that. We really used that, you know, condemning the eating of pork meat. I don't eat pork. I never remember consciously eating any pork in my life. I don't remember consciously eating any pork in my life. As I said, my mother and father, they were already Muslims of that particular idea that we had long ago in the past when I was born. So I don't remember eating pork at all. And I wouldn't eat pork consciously unless I thought I was going to die if I didn't. So God says in our holy book that we can eat it if our survival is threatened. He says, but don't eat it with a spirit or with a desire to eat it. Eat it only until you feel that you have enough to survive until you get some other food. That's what God says. Now, I'm so rational when it comes to this particular, not only this, all matters in my life and religion for me. I tend to be rational as well as spiritual. Some Muslims, they would not like to admit that they've ever thought that pork tastes good. I think it tastes good. I've never tasted it consciously, but I think many parts of pork taste good. All right? I think if it tastes bad, if it tastes bad, God wouldn't even tell us not to eat it. If it tastes bad, most likely none of us would be eating it anyway. Now, let's look at new converts. There are allowances for new converts, yes. Some of the authorities now may not agree with me. They may say, well, Imam Mohammed, we're living in new times. These are advanced times for Muslims. Everything is established for Muslims, been established for centuries. There's no excuse for us now treating new converts any different than we would treat people who have been traditionally Muslim. I differ with them. We should have allowances for new converts. One allowance for new converts in the time of our Prophet, prayers and peace be on him, was that they not be punished by the law, or the law not be applied to them just as it was applied to traditional Muslims or Muslims who had been Muslims and knew the religion had been Muslims. So if they made a violation like fornication, maybe some other serious violation, they were not to even theft, their situation was be looked at differently, and to see how much Islamic knowledge they had, how much of the influence of the old order was still in them, in order to decide what the punishment should be on them. We have new converts to religion in prisons. Many of these converts in prison population, they knew nothing of Islam until they got interested while in prison, and they become converts. So we have special consideration that we have to allow them, and also special consideration we should allow all new converts to Islam in America or anywhere on this earth. Dress. Islamic dress is established. We know what Islamic dress is. Islamic dress is to be covered fully. It's modesty and decency, most of all. I remember as a youngster in Chicago, I remember seeing a few, and they weren't all Catholics, seeing a few Christian women wearing long dresses. My mother wore a long dress when I was a boy, and occasionally I would see a Christian woman with a long dress on. And I remember the time when maxis were for everybody. No such thing as the many pure, most Christian women. They would have been really made ashamed if they would see their daughter or someone they cared a lot, had a lot of respect for, walking the streets with a miniskirt on, you know. So we change. We have seasons of what is proper and what is improper in America. And I remember that there was a long season, even before I was born, where Christians in America all wore women all wore long dresses. So we're just talking about sensitivity for what is modest and decent. And the prophet said that a woman should be covered. This is the law. This is the law for all Muslims. This doesn't differ regional on the basis of what regions. It's international, national borders, and no won't change this. That women are to, in public, be covered the whole body, all except for the face, the hands. See, the veil is not meant. This is the law, not the veil. The veil is not the law, except for the hands, the face, and the feet. This is the prophet saying. It's recorded in Bukhari and Muslim. It's preserved for us and all of us who know that, study the law, study what we call the hadith, the reports on our prophet, what our prophet established. We know that to be the law. No attention is given to male. Why? Because the society is sensitive to the female's protection in public. But a male is improperly dressed too. If he exposes his chest or his stomach, the male should be covered down below his knees and above his navel. Above his navel. This is the limit of exposure for the male in public. Even if he's working in a workplace. Now, I don't know how many of the inmates work outside or be aware of this or would be aware of this, but if they're told to wear short pants above the knees and have the navel exposed, they won't be properly dressed. So that's the minimum of dress for the male. However, males and females cover themselves similarly in public. We feel comfortable with a male in public when he's clothed just like the female, all over except for his face and hands and his feet. Same thing, same thing. And in most Muslim societies, you do find men covering their heads. The opinion is that, the established opinion is that covering the head is a protection from sun. We believe that sunlight, especially when it's hot, burning sun, is bad for the hair. It's bad for the hair, bad for the hair. So and because of that, there is a symbolism. There is a symbolism. So most of us feel sensitive in prayer and in the mosque. Most Muslims, all of us, we feel a little sensitive when we're having congregational prayer. We like to cover our head in prayer. However, you find that many congregations in America and in other parts of the world, you'll find men, most of the men, in prayer, and their heads won't be covered. You'll find the most sensitive ones to be those of Asia, India, Pakistan, a few other places, and the Middle East perhaps. When it comes to the women, yes, I think all of us expect for the women to have their hair covered, their heads covered in prayer, when making prayer. And most of us think the woman's hair or head should be covered in public. Most of us think that. I tend to agree with that while not making a big deal out of it. I will not make a sister feel uncomfortable in the congregation who's not wearing her hair covered outside. That's me. And I'm not alone. There was a great percentage of scholars and imams that have my same feeling for this, have shared my same thought or feelings on this matter. The reason why I think sister hair should be covered in public is because the prophet, first of all, whereas he didn't say cover the head, he said except for the face and that. So the head, since the head was only the face was mentioned, that makes us think that he means the head should be covered, just the face out. That's the first reason. Second reason is that I know, not only in the West, believe me, in the East, women are more conscious than most women are in the West of their hair being a kind of fetish for the men, a sex object or something. You know, they do that. You see men, and they pulling the curtain over the face and letting it back. You know, it's teasing you, you know. They teasing you with that hair, you know, with that hair cover, kind of doing a quick flash act on you, you know. So, so you know, I think we should. I think the women should cover the hair in the public, because it is a secular thing that suggests sex, and the women use it to draw men attention, you know. So I think the hair should be covered in public. But like I said, I won't make a sister in the congregation uncomfortable if she doesn't cover her hair in public, unless that made her uncomfortable. I'm sorry. I'm almost about to complete this now. Fasting. In fasting, the month of Ramadan. Fasting is in the month of Ramadan. The Prophet had what we call sunnah, his sunnah. He fasts certain days. We don't have to do that, but many Muslims also fast those certain days that the Prophet fasts, and this is good. We also can fast anytime we want to, as long as we don't fast on Muslim holiday, or as long as we don't fast on a Christian holiday or somebody else's holiday, and we are in their environment. We are living among them. Now, isn't that something we should know as Muslims?
Yes, sir.
If Christmas is not in Ramadan, you should not fast on Christmas. And no excuse for a Muslim to say, well, I want to fast today. No, you shouldn't fast on Christmas. Christians are eating and celebrating on Christmas. If it's not Ramadan, then we also should be eating on Christmas. And that goes for any holiday of any people. If they're eating on that day, we should also be eating on that day, unless it's during the month of Ramadan. We have allowances that if we are not able to fast because of sickness or because of travel, we can be exempt from fast and make those days up at another time. If we are able to feed a number of poor people, we can make compensation by feeding a certain number of poor people, and we will be exempt from that fast, from fasting during the month of Ramadan. Charity. We are to give in charity, but if we are poor and don't have charity to give, we can see our charity as kindness and moral support to friends, to Muslims, to friends, to neighbors. We can see our charity as any good act that benefits others as well as ourselves. If we don't have money to give, we shouldn't be satisfied with that situation. We should want to get the lawful employment, earn money, so we can give in charity, because that is a very important fourth pillar of our faith. Much more to be said on these different concerns in Islam, but I'm giving you these very briefly. I want to hurry up, and I've taken too much time already. Pilgrimage. Pilgrimage, very important for Muslims to make pilgrimage. Yearly, really. Some of us think just once in life. Once in life is the minimum. Once in life is the minimum. Muslims are to make pilgrimage yearly. The Prophet led pilgrims yearly. And I think I should mention for this occasion that when the idolaters were in power, the Prophet had to negotiate with the idolaters to get permission for him and his followers to make pilgrimage to the house. And even after the Prophet had enough power to overcome them, to subdue them and really remove them from there, they were still respected for up to a time for being the custodians of that sacred house. Then the word came from God to the Prophet saying that it is not proper that an idolatrous people, an unclean people, because idolaters are also unclean, an unclean people, the idol worshippers, were also unclean in many of their habits. I mean, very offensive to public decency in many of their habits. For example, when they made pilgrimage, they punished the poor people to show the difference between the classes. They made poor people walk around the Kaaba in the nude. They had to go around naked in the nude. You could see men and even women in the public relieving themselves on public highways. This is history of that time. And I can go on telling you about the decency and the offenses to public decency that were there in that society at that time. And even knowing that, given that fact, the Prophet was so tolerant that he tolerated them being the custodians while they yet had power, authority in that area. But even after the Muslims got an advantage over them, then the revelation came saying that none are allowed to be custodians of the sacred precincts except believers in God, Muslims, that is, Muslims. While pilgrimage is an obligation yearly, we go as our means allow us to go. And we hope that we can go once in our lifetime. If we go once in our lifetime, we have fulfilled that requirement that we make Hajj, our pilgrimage, to the house. Rather than address Islamic law and what is Islamic law, I chose to show you, try to show you, or share with you, and especially with my co-workers, our imams and chaplains, Islamic tolerance, gradualism, and appreciation for rational thinking in Islam. Thank you.
We have been honored here today, and being a Christian, I have learned something. Assalamu alaikum. I think we have been blessed to have the context of Islamic law explained to us the way that we've had it explained to us this morning. I think we have been further blessed that such an important man, such a learned thinker, such an experienced Muslim would spend some time with our issues. And so I come before you now to set the framework for dealing with our issues. Our issues being those of the Georgia Department of Corrections, as we try to both do things right by Muslims and do the right things by Muslims and by the citizens of this state. One of the groups that practice a different religion in our system is that of Muslims. One of the groups that we want to do the right thing by, that we want to do things right by, is those that practice Islam. And so, at this time, those of you who have come from your experience in our institutions and have questions that are related to your experience with practicers of this religion, and have a particular question or a particular concept that you want to explore with this learned man, I suggest that you go to the 2 microphones that are in the aisles on either side of us and just line up, and we will get to you within the context of the time that we have here. I recognize as being one of our staff who has a lot of experience in institutions, Nancy Thomas. Nancy, you've got a question for the imam.
Yes, I'd like to know what you see as the role of the religious community to our inmates when they're released from prison.
Yes. The role of the Muslim community is to...
use this one. That one's not working.
Okay.
Thank you.
The role of the Muslim community, I would think, would be to try to have an association, or at least a relationship with the prison facilities, so that when Muslims are released, that we could work with the facilities, the prison administration, to do everything within our power to help those inmates return to society and successfully return to society, establish themselves in society again, and not fall victim of their own weaknesses of the law and return to the return to prison. I think our role should be to work with prisons administration to see that everything is done to keep the inmate from returning to prison.
All right. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Iman, I'm going to take this one then.
All right, yes.
We'll take one from this side. If you would just identify yourself and your role in this organization or any organization that you may be with, and your question for the Imam.
Yes, I'm Art McLean. I work for Johnson Correctional Institution in Riceville. And I don't want you in no way to think that this is Islamic bashing, but I understand that one of the first rules of your religion is that you respect authority. But I find in the 10 years that I've been with the Department of Correction, and please don't think that I'm down on Islamic, but I find that the Muslim community are the most disrespectful. They, maybe I shouldn't use the term lie, but let's put it on the table. They lie a lot. They try to get over all the time. They just use their religion in order to get certain things. The Christian community is a different community altogether, and I'm not saying it because I'm Christian, but I feel that the Islamic community in the prison system are simply using that as a get-over.
All right. All right. I'm aware that there are inmates that fit that description in other parts of America, in other parts of the United States. But I would think, for the most part, in the majority of the facilities, that wouldn't be the case. That's what my knowledge would have me believe. And I do recall that prison administration, intelligence department and prison administration, at least I would say commended the followers of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad for being law-abiding, respectful of authority, disciplined and respectful of authority. I know of the prison system in Pennsylvania, and I met with the prison administrators there. In fact, the ones in charge of the whole area, the whole state of Pennsylvania, some years ago, and I was told that that was a situation for the prison system in the whole state of Pennsylvania, that Muslims had a better record for discipline and respectfulness, a respect for authority. They had an exceptional record for that. And it saddens me, and I'm sure other imams who are present with me today, to hear that you have that situation where you are. And I would ask that the imams here get acquainted with you and ask you if they can be of some help to address the problem there. There has been a big change in I would say, the interests of African Americans or blacks in Islam since the passing of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, my father, the late leader. Big change, influenced by extremism coming from overseas, and so really we can't claim that we are having any control over all African Americans or Muslims or African American Muslims in the prison system. We can't claim that. But we would like to know the situation and see if we can look at it with you and see what we can do about it. Those persons are imposters, you see, and I don't think we can really say that they're true Muslims.
Thank you.
Thank you, Imam. Let's go to this side. Sir?
My name is Larry Shaw. I'm from Telfair CI, Imam Mohammed. And I would like to ask, is there any message that you would like to convey to the inmates? Because I told the inmates I was coming to hear you.
Yes, sir.
And is there any message or idea that you would like for us to take back to the Islamic inmates or convey to them?
Yes, sir. I visited, I wanted to see Mike Tyson, and I got an opportunity to see him. One of our Muslim imams, seeing him and also tutoring him. He's a former principal of one of our schools on the East Coast, and he told me there's a chance for you to see Mike Tyson. Would you like to see him? I said, sure, I would. Who wouldn't like to see Mike Tyson? So I went and I visited him, and I heard that he was interested in Islam. And the first thing I said to the group of Muslim inmates who were gathered there, I told them, I said, well, I'm greeting you, assalamu alaikum, brothers, but I don't feel comfortable greeting you in this situation here. I say Muslims should not be in this situation. And that's what I'd like to say to all Muslims in prison. That's not a place for Muslims. Muslims are not supposed to go to prison. We're supposed to obey God, respect the law of the land, and stay out of prison. And that's not a good place for them. And believe me, if I came there and visited them, I wouldn't feel I was in a good place, a good situation. It wouldn't be a good time. I'd rather see them when they return to society and greet them outside than to greet them in prison. I really have a lot of respect for you chaplains. I tried to do it. I used to go to these prison communities and preach. And after a while, I felt like I was a prison imam. So I really, I just refused to go anymore. I said, well, it's enough of you brothers. I said, some of you all who did time, go there. You converted, you changed, go there and you all do that. I don't need me in there. I don't want to be in prison.
Yes, sir.
Well, I'm T.S. Landers, a food service advisor. I've got a question that comes up sometimes when we're having assignments of the Muslim inmate to the food service area. And the question I'd like to get clarification on is, can a Muslim inmate work in food service where pork may be cooked, cut, handled, and can they wash utensils that pork has been cooked in?
Yes, sir. Okay. All right. This is it's a very touchy question. Very touchy question. I can only tell you what's the fact. The fact is that Muslim is not to consume pork, not to consume pork, and not to be responsible for pork being consumed by others. Not to consume it, and not to have any part in having pork consumed by others. That's my feeling. So I wouldn't want to handle pork. I'm a man who believes in having a job, and I wouldn't want to handle pork. But there's no other job for me outside as a free man except to handle pork. I'm telling you, I wouldn't let my wife be at home and children be at home, not having some food and having me take care of them. Before putting them on welfare, I would wash the pork, the pot that the pork was in. I'm thinking for myself personally. I would wash the pots. I would even handle the pork. I wouldn't eat it, but I would handle it if I had to feed my family. And I would think that God would be pleased with me doing that until I found a better situation. Now, a prisoner inside the prison compound, he's not supposed to have any control over his situation. He lost that when he broke the law. So in my opinion, it's a different situation.
Let me push you on that one, Mr. Mohammed. Since that is a real significant area where we have disagreement throughout our system, is that dealing with food, and particularly pork. Now, I want to make sure that what I'm hearing is, and you talked earlier about Islamic law and the flexibility of Islamic law, and your philosophy that new converts or converts ought to have some, quote, exceptions or some latitude, some flexibility in dealing with the infractions of Islamic law. Now, am I really hearing you say that in the context of dealing with pork utensils that pork has been cooked in, or dirty plates where pork will have been eaten, or the handling of anything in the kitchen area that may have touched pork? Are you saying that it is not within Islamic law that the prison system can respond? In other words, that they broke the law, that they're in there, and though I really want to push you on hearing that.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
All right.
That is not within Islamic law. But Islamic law has its differences, you know, as it's applied in different parts of the world. I've said that. So we can't apply Islamic law in a situation like that. We have to try to get accommodation for Islamic concerns, Islamic sensitivity, Muslim sensitivities, and the Islamic rule in the life of Muslim. We have to get accommodation as much as possible from the law of the land, and in this case, the prison administration. You see?
Yes.
We have to get accommodation, and we only have rights, in my opinion, as much as those rights are given by the law of the land and the prison administration. That's my opinion. If other religious groups like Jews, if they are given allowances, then the prison system puts itself on the spot. We would claim the same rights that others claim, that you give others.
Yes, sir. Right. All right. Thank you very much. Yes, sir.
I'm Doug Simmons, chaplain at Lowndes Correctional Institution in Valdosta. Thank you for coming. Two things. One, as far as the other man's comment about imposters, I'm Presbyterian. We have the same problem in my church. And number two, on the issue of inmates' handling of pork, we've had some inmates who work in food service who will handle pork if they're wearing gloves. And they've explained to the Islamic community within the prison that it's not their responsibility, that they didn't make the decision, that they're simply doing what they're being told. Mm-hmm. Are they within the limits of al-Islam if they do that?
I can't say yes and I can't say no. If they have serious sensitivities, then I think those sensitivities ought to be respected. If they are in the free society, if they're not convicts, those sensitivities ought to be respected. But we can't demand that the prison system respect those sensitivities unless the prison system have already made such allowances for religious people. That's my opinion. I think if they allowed to wear gloves, that's very good of our prison system. We have a very civilized and progressive prison system. Anyone who doesn't believe that, I'd like for them to go to some Muslim prisons of some of the Muslim countries around the world.
Thank you. Kelly.
I'm Kelly Williams. I'm the dietitian with Food and Farm Services. And I would just like to know if there are any additional dietary restrictions other than pork.
Yes. Yes, there are. The term in our holy book is halal and tayyibah. That's the complete expression, halal and tayyibah. So halal means that it's permissible. Alcohol is not permissible in our diet. We are not to have alcohol in our diet. Pork and alcohol strictly forbidden to Muslims.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Faye Green, Food Service Advisor for the Central Region. The question I have, we have a lot of Muslims where we're transporting or storing food, where there be a pork item, they contend that a non-pork item can't be stored with that. And we're following everything to covering food.
A non-pork item can't be
stored with pork. Does that
stored?
Right.
Stored.
Would that contaminate the other item?
Only if the substance of the pork meat gets on the other meat.
So there's no problem with storing it or
As
transporting?
long as the substance is not exposed and it gets, and it's meat to meat, and the fat from the pork is getting on the meat that the Muslims eat.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Gail Jordan, chaplain at Georgia Women's Correctional Institution. We have some women who want to maintain the old way as opposed to the transition. How would you speak to that in corrections?
Well, when it comes to the dietary laws and the dress, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and his followers were a model of obedience. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad's followers were seen as a model of obedience to the law of Islamic dress and also Muslim diet. So I don't think it would be a big problem there. And also the attitude toward authority, even in prison. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad established that we are to respect authority and obey authority. He established that. He was a very strong advocate of that.
One concern, and when the religion was the black Muslim, the issue of racism comes up in our institutions.
Yes. Well, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad had an identification card that was given to all members of the Nation of Islam. And that identification card said, if the police find a Muslim, if they have arrested a Muslim, a member of the Nation of Islam, and have found him, say the bearer of this card is a righteous Muslim. If the bearer of this card is found otherwise, take the card from him and punish him. That's what the card said. Tell them that was the teaching of Honorable Elijah Muhammad.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Assalamu alaikum. Brother Imam, are there any concerns that you have for correctional administrators or workers that you'd like to express? Any concerns for correctional administrators or workers that you would just like to express yourself?
I see. Oh, yes. I got that. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, but I did time in prison myself in Sandstone, Minnesota, for refusing selective service order. I was there for about 14 months, I think. And I saw changes there while I was there. At first, it was very difficult for us to get one meal that was free of pork, unless it was breakfast. Sometimes that was just cereal. And I saw the change come, and we were told that we could get eggs, that they would make sure that Muslims had boiled eggs, or sometime once a week we could get fried eggs. They assured us that the eggs weren't cooked with lard that wasn't used. And they would at least have one meal during the day, a lunch or dinner, without pork. Some beef, something like that, beef and or chicken or something. It wasn't pork. I appreciate that so much. And I've heard how some of the inmates are living now in some of these institutions, and I think a lot of them break the law to go there, to be your guest. So I don't think quite like a lot of you all, okay? So I'm not a Saudi yet, but I don't think quite like you all. I believe that offenders should be punished, and the only thing hurting me is that an innocent person being punished. But that's not your problem. You didn't handle the case. You didn't judge. You didn't decide whether they should go to jail or not. That's not your problem. When they come to you, they all are guilty. So I have to respect that and appreciate progress for our prison system. I'm sure there are many jails and prisons around this country that still can improve. But I know there's a lot of progress made, and I do believe we have the more humane system when it comes to how we treat inmates on this planet. I think we have the most humane system on this planet. If there's a better one, I don't know about it. But I do have something to say. I just want that to be clear. I do have something that I would like to say, and that is that I'm hearing that you are becoming better acquainted with our Quran, our holy book, and with the life of Muslims. And the better you know our life, the better you'll be able to manage the very difficult task of serving the Muslim population in prison.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam.
I'm Bilal Abdul Wajid from Telfair and Dar CI. The question I have is your position on inmates calling themselves imams.
Yes, sir. Very good question. I had that question years ago, and my position hasn't changed. An inmate can be an imam in prison, but he can only be an imam leading prayers only, leading the prayers only. And he'd have to be leading other inmates, Muslim inmates, in prayer who see him as the better character of the group, not the worst character of the group. He has to be the better character in their group. Then he can lead them in prayers if it's allowed by the facility, if it's approved by the facility. He can do that. However, that's not the situation we want. We prefer that one of our imams from the mosque, from the nearest mosque or from the area, go there to that facility and instruct them in the religion and qualify them to lead prayer, not to give sermons and things like that. No. We have many inmates, Muslims, who have become Muslims while in prison or who went to prison as Muslims, and they have gotten an interest in the religion, they've studied the Quran, they have increased their knowledge in Islam, and they've become some very terrific imams. They've qualified themselves, and they've become very terrific imams. We like that, that's good, we're glad to get that news. But even though we are seeing benefits, you know, we will never accept that a man who breaks the law goes in jail and becomes an imam, a leader for Muslims. No. He should wait until he returns to society and establish those credits in society, and the community outside acknowledge him and say, you have done your time, we see that you have completely reformed, and we think you should be accepted as an imam. It should be the outside society qualifying him to be an imam after he has proved himself in the free world also, as he proved himself in prison. Many times they come to the free world and they forget everything they did in prison.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Assalamu alaikum, Brother Imam. I'm Wali Kareem from Savannah, Georgia. I would like to know that what do you think that can be done to change the growth of crime that we see so widespread today?
The crime?
Yes, sir.
Yes. That's a big question. It needs a big answer. It needs an answer from all of us, and that's what it's getting. All of us are answering that question. But in the little time that I have to respond, I think that what would help most is for it to be made known to the public. We need our leaders, spokesmen for blacks, Christian religious leaders, government leaders, all of us should be on record for condemning crime and not excusing it, for condemning crime. And I think if we would be more on record for condemning crime, criminal behavior in our society, I think the media would sooner or later have to stop giving notoriety to criminals. I think we should make criminals feel small when attention is called to them, whether on television, radio, or anywhere. We should make them feel small. If we treat them in any way to make them feel big, we are ourselves contributing to the growth of crime.
Thank you, Iman, for that response. Yes, ma'am.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
My name is Majida Rashida. I'm a believer here in the Atlanta area and a volunteer of the Islamic Dawah Committee. Card was circulated. The public would like to know, are there any color or racial barriers in the religion of Islam?
No. Our religion, more so than any other scripture I know of, addresses the problem. I guess because among the major religions, ours is the most recent to be practiced by mankind. And in our holy book, God says that there is no grounds or support for the superiority of one over another on the basis of race, nationality, color, that the only grounds of support is regardfulness, decency, regardfulness, obedience to God. That's the only ground. So, and the prophet said in his last sermon, and in his farewell address, or last sermon, we would expect that those issues he gave attention to would be the most important. And he gave attention to the treatment of women. He gave attention to the treatment of the property and rights of each other. He also gave attention to the tendency on some part of some people to be nationalistic and arrogant, and to be racist and arrogant. And he said there's no superiority of one nation over another or one race over another. He said that in his speech. He said Muslims are brothers, we are brothers, one to another. And we know the international community of Muslims is a community of all colors. We make no distinction between people on the basis of their color or nationality. We make no distinction whatsoever. Many of us, we don't say the Turks are white, but the Turks say they are white. The Turks are white, and that country is more than 97% Muslim, and has been that way for centuries. They are white. Albanians are white. Many white Muslims, and we all are one community of brothers and sisters. That has been for centuries. That's nothing new.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Assalamu alaikum. King H. Revere Correction, City of Atlanta. Is it required that the kufi cap be worn at all times? And also, some people do not understand the Islamic, feel that the brothers sitting in front at prayer and the sisters are behind, it's kind of like the lady being at the back of the man.
Yes. Yes, okay, but these questions are very good, but they require more time than me to give it more time than we got, I think. So I'll rush with it. I'll try to do a rush job, but a good job. The kufi cap, to me, was influenced by the Jewish skull cap. I don't believe the prophet wore a kufi cap. There's nothing in history that tells me he wore a kufi cap. I think that was influenced by the Jewish practice of Jewish men wearing the little cap back there. They have it, I can't think of the name right now. I know it, but I can't think. Yeah, they wear the little cap. So the Muslims' cap is different. They don't quite wear it like the Jews. You put it right back there on the back where the bald spot usually comes right there to cover it, you know. So I guess I'll wear one sometime too if you want to cover that bald spot. Covering the head in prayer, to me, is good practice, and I think it respects Muslim sensitivity. Outside of prayer, I don't see any real issue, no real issue. And if we wear it all in the streets, I think we are trying to distinguish ourselves from other people in the society. And if that's what we are trying to do, then we can design ourselves an American cap or hat or something. And it'll be better. Be more dignity in it, too.
Iman, I'm hearing the response to that question as being a gender-specific response, that's the way you deal with men. Now, early on in your earlier remarks, as you talked about that same issue covering the head with women, that I heard you say something a little different. We do have a few women inmates in our system. And could you respond to that same issue dealing with a gender-specific response for women?
Yes, what I said before, I would also say that to the prison situation. I would. That Muslim women in prison, I think that it would be better if the administration would allow them to cover their hair when they out and mixing with other inmates. Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Assalamu alaikum. Bishar Mustafa, Atlanta, Georgia. I have two questions for you, Brother Mayor. The first question is, could you give some guidance on the Islamic observance of daily prayers while incarcerated? And is it a requirement to make congregational prayer other than in Juma?
Yes. Okay. The first question. If the prison administration can see the administration allowing the Muslim population in a facility to observe the 5 daily prayers, then I would urge the administration to do that. But if that'll be a problem for security and for the administration, then I urge the Muslim population to respect the needs of the administration, the needs of the facility, and make prayers whenever the rules of the facility permit. That's what my advice would be.
I have one other question.
And as far as congregational prayer, all 5 prayers are congregational prayers. All 5 are congregational prayers. But the most important of them is the Friday, the Jummah. The Prophet made it that way, and it's in the Quran too. It is a prayer that God says, if you're busy with work or commercial, with business, anything, if you hear the call to Jummah prayer, respond. And after you have responded and had the service, then return to your work, to your business. That's in the Quran. So that prayer is separated from the others as being the most important for congregational prayer. But congregational prayer, every 5 prayers, congregational prayer.
Praise be to Allah. The other question is, what holy days is an incarcerated Muslim required to observe?
The same that a person who in the what we call the free society. Same that applies to us in the free society applies to those in prison. If prison administration grant us the allowances, that allowance to observe the 2 Eids. One is the Eid after the fasting of Ramadan, and the second is the bigger Eid, that is the Eid on the 10th day of Hajj pilgrimage, that celebrates the sacrifice, Abraham's sacrifice. Those are the 2 Eids. Any other holiday, including the birthday of the Prophet, peace be upon him, are not obligations on Muslims. The Prophet himself never established celebration of birthdays.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Yes, good afternoon, Iman.
Good afternoon.
My name is Michael Cook. I'm operations major of the Fulton County Jail. I'm a new administrator of that facility, and I just recently experienced the Ramadan feast. I helped Reverend Connors coordinate that feast. My question is twofold. I'd like to know first, what is the religious origin of that feast? And secondly, does that period of feasting, or fasting rather, change throughout the year? I think it was in March or April when it occurred. Is it going to be that time frame throughout every year?
Yes, sir. Yes, the origin of the feast after Ramadan, the fasting and the feast of Ramadan, is in the practice of the Prophet. It celebrates the sending down of revelation, the Quran, to Muhammad, the last prophet, peace be on him. God says in the Quran, شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن هدى للناس وبينات من الهدى والفرقان. That it is the month of Ramadan, that month, the 9th month of the Islamic calendar, that the Quran was given to Prophet Muhammad as revelation by God, as guidance for all people, and as a rule for distinguishing guidance from that is not guidance. This is what God says in the Quran. So that's the origin of it. The origin of it is really the Quran, and it's being revealed in that month, the 9th month, called Ramadan. But it wasn't established as a practice until the Prophet himself established the practice. That's why we can't know our religion unless we know both the life of our Prophet as a leader of that religion and the Quran. Now, the dates change because the lunar calendar, the Islamic calendar, is the lunar calendar, and the days will kind of, what you call it, go against the direction of our calendar. We will be, like if it was done in, say, on the 15th of April last year, well, most likely it'll be earlier. It'll be earlier the next year. So it keeps getting earlier and earlier. That's how the calendar will be affected. The observance will keep getting earlier and earlier. And that does present a problem, but there's nothing we can do about that. It's very important for us in religion to observe the fast at the proper time. Now, for inmates, I've already established that Islam is a rational religion and a tolerant religion. For the inmates, that's different. The inmates, you're in jail for 5 years, make up your fasting. If you're that serious about your religion, make up your fasting when you release. You can fast 5 years straight in addition to all the regular fasting. You see, no, we can't be too easy with people in jail, these people in prison. You can't be too easy with them. I think we've been too soft with them, too easy with them. They don't have, what I'm saying, they don't have any rights. They don't have any rights to be telling you, give me a feast and all that, unless you've given the Jews that. So watch what you're doing. If you're giving the Jews a feast and letting them get by with all that, or somebody else, I'm not picking on Jews now. They're my brothers too. But if you're giving them favors or anybody else favors, then the Muslim, we think we're entitled to the same. We don't want to see them having their Jewish holidays and eating and carrying on and celebrating in prison like they're outside, and you don't give us the same chance.
Assalamu alaikum, Brother Imam.
Wa alaikum assalam, Imam Furqan.
And it's good to see you 2 weeks back to back.
Thank you.
I would like to say in regards to a major cook who just spoke recently for Fulton County, Sheriff Jackie Barry was not able to be here, the first African-American female sheriff in America. She sent him as a representative, and I would just like for you to know of the great work that is taking place in Fulton County. Fulton County has 4 correctional facilities. Islamic service in all 4 facilities. Fulton County has hired 2 Muslims as chaplains for Fulton County, and that's very unique in this area, historical, and we're very happy that Fulton County now have Jummah prayer in all 4 facilities. We also have the Eid feast, we have the Ramadan, we have the Talim service, so they are really working with us, and I just thought you as our leader should know that.
And the Imam from the Free Society is serving them?
Yes, sir.
That's wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Assalamu alaikum, Brother Imam. My name is Najib Bilal Hassan, and I'm a volunteer in the prison. Brother Imam, we have a lot of non-Muslims accepting al-Islam in prison. They are taking their shahada. We have gotten a lot of questions about name change. How would you suggest, inshallah, that we go about with a lot of non-Muslims coming to be Muslims?
Yeah.
They seem sincere, some of them, and some of them, inshallah.
Yes, sir. Thank you. The concern that we should have before changing our name is that we don't hurt our parents and our near relatives. That's the number one concern. We have to understand that Islam does not require that the converts to Islam change the name. Doesn't require that. However, there are, again, sensitivities. No Muslim would want a name that if that name was a discredit to Islamic character, to Muslim character, or Islamic character. So there are some names that we get that are offensive. It should be, Muslims should know that the companions of the Prophet are known by the same names they had before the Prophet became Prophet, before they became Muslim. Abu Bakr was named Abu Bakr before. And what is Abu Bakr? Abu Bakr means father of a young camel. Now we know he wasn't father of a young camel. Father in their language means one who, the caretaker for that young camel. That's what it means. Doesn't mean he actually was a father, but it meant that young camel was so dear to the person that it treated it with such kindness like you would your own child, you know. So because of that, he's called Abu Bakr, it's Siddiq. Abu Bakr is Siddiq. He was called that before, he's called it after. And I can go on listing the companions and their names, and you'll see that hardly ever any one of them changed their name. This big name change, again, I think, came in the spirit of the Crusades and competition, the cross and crescent competition, you know. The Christians and Jews that changed their names, so Muslims went out and changed their names. So I find a tendency now in the Muslim world, especially among the leaders, is to discourage just changing without giving it any serious thought. They should be considerate of the family members. If your father and mother give you a name, they don't like for you to change those names sometimes. It hurts the family. So if it's going to hurt the family, think it over very seriously. But an inmate, a person who's been an offender, if they really feel that their image, they would like to change their image, and changing the name is going to help them feel more comfortable with their new life, then I would say that that's serious too, and we should respect that.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Recognizing that the Christian church in various denominations, including the one that I grew up in and am a part of, has its own problems with the issue I'm about to raise, do you believe that Al-Islam will ever fully recognize the spiritual gifts of women and have female imams and recognize them on an equal par with the male imams?
Well, you asked a question that I have to answer. I have to take it apart and make it two questions. Okay. One question, I'm going to make two questions out of your question. I'm asking it now. One question is, will there ever be imams? No. Not if I have something to say about it. No. And I'm with the majority of Muslim leaders. No. There will never be female imams. Now, will women be able to have something to say about the spiritual life and development? Is that what you're saying? That was part of the question.
I think I phrased it, will Al-Islam ever fully recognize the spiritual gifts of women?
Yeah, the spiritual gifts of women. Spiritual gifts of women. Yes. In our holy book, the mother of Jesus, peace be upon her and upon him, she is a lady who received revelation from God. And when we mention her, we mention her and we give the salute or the respectful words, alayha salam, just as if she's a prophet. She's not a prophet, but we salute her like we salute a prophet. We say, Maryam, the mother of Jesus Christ, alayha salam, on her be peace. I think we are recognizing the spiritual gifts when we do that. And that the spiritual gifts can be on such high level, the level of prophets. She received revelation from God according to our holy book. Does that answer the question? Well, I will add that in Muslim society, Muslim men are in competition with Muslim women for the leadership of Muslim society. We are in competition with women. Because any woman is free to study our religion, the Quran, and the life of our prophet, and the history of Islam, and establish herself as an authority above every man in our society. And our imams will have to recognize her as an authority over them and include in their khutbahs and their sermons things that she said, quote her as an authority. The imam is not the highest position, maybe only in Iran, and maybe that's changing now. And for most Muslim world, the position of imam is not the highest position. Only if we're talking about the prophet as an imam. It is not the highest position. Many of our only qualification you need to be an imam is to be decent character and be knowledgeable enough to lead prayers and give the khutbah. That's all you have to have. And women can rise much, much higher than that. So don't think that it's a title that you have to aspire to, women, Muslim women. Most of you are above the average imam already in your knowledge and in your thinking. So it's symbolic more than anything else. It's symbolic. That's a symbolic position, symbolic title, and it's not going to change. It's masculine. It's going to stay that way. It's for the rooster and not for the hen. And the rooster will keep crowing.
I guess what I was referring to, that both in the Christian church we've had to struggle with what is divine truth and revelation and to whom that is revealed, regardless of shape or gender, and what is culture, what is a cultural practice.
Yes, it's not cultural at all. It's deeply established in Quran and in the practice of Muhammad the Prophet.
That will continue to be a controversial issue throughout religion, I guess. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I have one more question, if I may.
Please.
In our system, we have a Muslim group that observe Ramadan in April, and we have a group that observes it in December. Could you distinguish between those?
Yes. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the late leader of the Nation of Islam, called Black Muslims, he told us that his teacher told him to have us fast Ramadan in the month of December because it would be easier on us. It has the shortest days. So he said it was chosen, December was chosen because it had the shortest of the days. We fast during the daylight hours, so he did it to make it easier on his followers. That's what he said. He said because they were newly converted to the religion out of Christian lifestyles, and that he wanted to make it easier on them to fast the month of Ramadan. Well, sometimes the month of Ramadan will be in June, be the longest days, rotate through the whole calendar year, through our calendar year. But I personally think that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad didn't want his followers spending too much money on Christmas gifts. He wanted more into the charities of the temple. I think that was part of the reason too, you know. And then he didn't want them giving themselves to the spirit of Christmas. If they're fasting during that season, then they would be protected from the spirit of Christmas. It's strong, I'm telling you. I hear those jingle bells and everything. Sometimes it gets to me, I have to check it, you know. Say, hey, what's happening here? Yeah. This is powerful influence, powerful influence. That had a lot to do with it. But now they should understand that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, before his passing, he pointed to me. And he gave me freedom to preach to his followers. So they should be looking to me now and not Elijah Muhammad.
Thank you, Imam. Are there others who have issues that you'd want to explore? If not, we will ask for just some summary remarks from Imam Muhammad, and then we'll bring A.J. Sabri back to kind of wrap it up and close it out. And on behalf of the department, though, let me say before I sit down here, Imam Muhammad, thank you so much for coming and sharing with us all of your wisdom, and we will...
Great honor for me. It's been my pleasure.
Well, thank you so very much. Okay.
I would only like to say that, again, I'm grateful, and we are grateful to you for this opportunity, and we hope that we have shared with you understanding in our religion on how Muslims should look at the law in Islam, the Sharia of the law, and how the administration should respond to Sharia or Islamic law in the life of the inmates. We thank you very much for this opportunity, and I heard that there might be an honorarium. After our expenses, I would like for that, whatever's left of that honorarium, to go to the chaplaincies here to buy Qurans for the chaplains that need Qurans. Thank you very much.
I really appreciate y'all being here today, and I can say, I think, from all of us, this has been a delightful time. It's been educational. I like your sense of humor, and those of you who work in prisons and the work we do, if we don't have a sense of humor, we're dead in the water. And I hope that all of us will go away with a better sense of the Islamic community and what we're after. And I heard the loudest thing I heard is that we got to be rational. We can't be so legalistic on either side, and we've got to work with one another and come to a goodly relationship with one another, regardless of what the religious affiliation may be. So I heard that loud and clear, and I appreciate y'all being here, and I hope that you have a safe journey back to your destination. Thank you for being here, and thank you, sir.